Text to speech is on. You can put your questions there if you have any, if anyone's watching. Um, but I saw this YouTube video the other day, and I'm not used to seeing this kind of stuff, especially on YouTube. Um, and it's like kind of like a dirty little secret that everyone knows about, but people just don't know the details about. Obviously, there's a opioid epidemic in America. Also, I got a new. Well, it's not new, and it's nothing to brag about. But I've been looking for an audio solution. Most of the microphones I have were just too far away and not picking up my voice, and I wanted clear, loud audio. So I got this Britney Spears, like a performance mic, kinda, um, and it's plugged into this little wireless transmitter, um, and in combination with just a regular Bluetooth headset. I got the Freedom. Um, I'm wireless, and I can get up and go pee. Don't have to, and it's a lot more comfortable than like a big bulky gaming headset, like this one. This one I still love. This is an old Corsair HS70. But it's got like a leather headband. This one's been great for me. It makes my head sweaty. But this isn't what the stream is actually about. These little blue devils you see up there, or right there, they're called Perk 30s. Essentially, though, a lot of people are buying them off the street, and when you get those, they are if you're lucky and you actually get what you paid for, they're fentanyl. Um, More often than not, though, it's very hit and miss, especially with these fake pressed pills. Um, so you really never know what you're getting. I've heard there's a lot of xylazine in there. Um, it's just not good stuff. Um, but I'll start by showing the YouTube clip that was it was a short that was the impetus for this stream. What gave me the idea to talk about this, more in detail and more in length. So I'll pull that YouTube clip up for you, and then we'll watch it together. Oh, little man's up. Okay, here is the YouTube clip that I saw the other day.
See him?
Yeah.
These are the top 5.
How many hits off that shit does it take for you to feel it, bro?
Like I said, I need at least to smoke at least like 15 to start feeling it.
15?
Yeah, this guy's really deep in it. But 15 is not a crazy number. Fentanyl is supposed to be like a very strong opioid, but you learn pretty quickly that you build a tolerance fast to it, and since the quality is so hit and miss, especially with the pressed ones, I mean, this is all just from my personal experience. I ended up struggling with several. It probably lasted less than a year, but 8 or 9 months, maybe 10 months. But I think at my worst, it was up. It was probably at 15 a day. Maybe if I had just gotten like a large amount, 20 or 30 is not like completely out of the realm of possibility. but it sounds like a lot what he's talking about, like 15 to feel anything. But that's really not all that crazy. Um, yeah, it was kind of mind blowing to see this video because, and if you pay attention, he's got the foil in his hand. He's got a straw. Um, I've heard. I never used the foil. I don't want to go into too much details. It's a very nasty habit. But the foil itself has its own dangers along with it, because it's not just aluminum, and the the guy who was sort of like my partner in crime during this period, while I had this nasty habit, he would always say that it was the foil that was messing people up. Because when you would meet these, some of the dealers were actually addicts, and they would be like convulsing, or they would have like these tics. And it was his theory that it was the foil actually that was fucking them up. Yeah, hey babe. Oh, you're gonna charge his iPad? I love you. No, but I'm streaming. You like my microphone? Do I look like Britney Spears? No, it's cool. You're not blonde either. Um. Anyway, I don't know. I just suddenly got like. It's weird because I don't have a problem talking to strangers about this, but something about her walking in made me like freeze up. Um. But I honestly would not have been able to get off if I didn't have support and love and understanding and patience from the people around me. Um, so in a lot of ways, I'm very happy that this chapter of my life is behind me. Um, it's it's the money. It's the putting yourself, your freedom at risk when you go to these places to meet these people. You're constantly sick. This was a very like insidious, evil substance because of the way it like gets its hooks into you. Um, this this kid is probably constantly in withdrawal, and it's almost unavoidable because you never really have enough, it and the symptoms when you're going through it, it's like lots of stomach pain, lots of I call it the heebie-jeebies. You just don't feel comfortable in your own skin. Um, you are either too hot or too cold. It basically it's a constant state of discomfort. And then whenever you are in need, a lot of times you'll need multiple plugs because when you're sick and these guys aren't replying or taking their time, it's super difficult to keep your shit together. Um, and you don't really just want to get right. A lot of people normally once like he probably could make his withdrawal symptoms go away with 6 or 7, right? But he's trying to nod off, right? That's like the goal, especially with opiates. You it my uh, addiction started very young, and it was hydrocodones. I was able to get them at a super young age because one of my parents was a pain pill addict who would doctor shop. Doctor shopping is when you have multiple doctors, pain management doctors, or like your general physician, and they all are writing you prescriptions for hydrocodones. And it was just too available at too early of an age. Um, so before I was even 18, I had a pretty serious chemical dependency on hydrocodone. Um, Eventually, I ended up in a methadone clinic, which I always recommend to people, especially. I mean, there's good and bad to it, right? If if you if you can handle being sick, and like it's something that you can do on a routine, like on a routine basis because of financial situations or whatever. If you end up off of this stuff for 5, 6, 7 days, just then you have the capability within you to quit, because the first 5, 6, 7 days are the hardest. Once you're past that point, it really gets a lot easier. The way uh, that I was able to quit the Percocet was because I got the flu, and it made my lungs were in no condition to handle any kind of smoke or anything. And it's really nasty, but I was smoking them. I just was treating it like a dab. If any of you guys smoke wax or resin, then you know how it's done with like a nectar collector, like a glass or metal nectar collector that you can heat up with a butane torch, and then you could like tap and roll. Um, and essentially, you're getting the same effect as the foil, but didn't feel as like it didn't feel as like junky to me to do it that way. I mean, it's still it was something I was ashamed of, and I tried to hide. But with these habits, you're doing this every few hours, so it becomes pretty difficult to hide. Um, but the reason for some people I do recommend methadone clinics is my pain pill habit lasted 10 years. So at that point, I hadn't been dry or off of it in so long that the withdrawal terrified me. And at least with the methadone clinic, I mean, you are trading one habit for another, but you know that you're not going to be sick anymore. The fear of withdrawal is like the number one thing. You're not going to be sick anymore. It's cheaper. Some of them are free. Sometimes insurance will pay for them. But even the expensive ones that are like $100 a week are still way cheaper than any other opiate habit you might have. And also, you aren't limited to like a minimum dose when you go to these clinics. You can step up your dose until you find like an equilibrium. Um, so you no longer have to fear withdrawal. You don't have to fear not being able to afford it, as long as you can afford whatever clinic you sign up for. And for the first few weeks, you do get pretty fucked up off of the stuff. I'm not even gonna lie. Uh, the the euphoria from methadone is comparable, if not stronger. Like this stuff lasts 24 hours. It's supposed to. But you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it your first time for 6, 7, 8 hours. Some people will even nod off from the methadone, especially when they first start. Um, but it just depends on like the your cycle. If you are constantly up and down, and can handle if situationally you end up being sick for 5 6 days routinely, then I think you probably have the capability of quitting without like the need of supplementary opiates like Suboxone or methadone. I never actually took or tried Suboxone. From what I hear, it's an opioid, so it stimulates your receptors, but it also is like a blocker. So I've heard that Suboxone can like put you into withdrawal if you take it, and it'll essentially make the opiates not work. They say the same thing about methadone, but in my experience, that's not true. It's still the whatever you're doing on top of it will still get through. But it was crazy to see this video. Shout out to the streamer Fulcrum. I'm sure for him this is just like some shot content, and this stuff is going on all over America. When people talk about fentanyl, they're talking mostly about some people actually do smoke pure fentanyl, and a lot of people are addicted to these fake street perk 30s, these little blue pills. Um, and like this kid said, he got a 300 pack when he got paid, and he said last Thursday, right, which means it lasted maybe like a week and a day, and said it was down to 27 already. That's the kind of thing that'll be happening constantly with a habit like this, because once you get hooked, you need a considerable amount just to get well, and you're constantly chasing the feeling you got when you first started, and it's weird once you're in it. It seems like no matter who you go through or how many you get, that you're never really getting good ones. um, and I think that's just it's a combination of the tolerance and the fact that there's like no quality control on these things, and um, I'm glad that I don't have this issue anymore. Um, I've got a friend who's still going through it. Um, I hope for the best for him. Um, but I'll let the video finish playing.
15 pills?
Yeah, and I picked up a 300 pack when I got paid last Thursday. I'm already down to 27.
Can I see them?
Yeah, let me see.
How many hits off that shit does it take for you to feel it, bruh?
Like I said, I need at least.
Yeah, it was a short, but it's a trip to see any like attention get drawn to this. Um, this is a crisis in America that we're facing currently, and I don't know what the solution is. Um, and when you're doing it, like that um, you always hear stories about people dying from like their first time trying fentanyl, or like getting it on their hands and like overdosing. And when you're like going through it, you're like, man, why not me? I've got the tolerance. I could actually handle a good one. How come all these people are getting the murder packs, and why do I always get the shitty ones? Um, it's just funny to think about. But yeah, getting sick prevented me from doing it for about a week. I was really sick. And I was feeling bad anyway. So the uh, the withdrawal on top of it, it was factoring in, but I was basically bedridden from the flu and the withdrawal. Uh, and then once it was over, I just had to find the strength to not buy more, um, which I was able to do, and it wasn't easy. It was super hard. Um, you are not comfortable in your own skin for quite a while, and my appetite was destroyed for a while. I probably lost like 15, 20 pounds immediately after quitting. Um, the sad thing about it is, normally it's like, people who get introduced to this stuff, they're normally introduced by like their friends. And this is something I believe was true, because it was actually my mom who originally, um, was the parent who, because of their personal struggle with addiction, the substance was available. It was too available, and I was too young to know better. But I also think that sometimes, especially with opiates, that people who are addicted will almost create codependent addicts, so they don't have to. So they're not in the struggle alone. And especially if the person who is, you know, your partner in addiction, they know that once you're also as dependent as they are, that a lot of times you can help facilitate, with rides or pooling money together and stuff like that. Um, and I've often wondered if my the reason that my mom allowed it to happen was because she didn't want to go through it alone. Um, and they say like addiction is genetic, and I'm not sure. But I um have it on both sides with my parents. Um, my dad was an alcoholic, when he was young. When I was young, he then he struggled with methamphetamine addiction towards the, well, I don't know. He still might be out there somewhere, maybe not. But he basically disappeared from my life around the same time that he had lost his the house that I grew up in. Um, the funny thing is, I always try to give him his credit. Basically, after he had gone to prison for all his DUIs, they put a breathalyzer in his vehicle. They had him on probation. He was taking Antabuse, and if you don't know what Antabuse is, basically you get violently ill if you drink any alcohol. Um, and from that period on, right, I was like in fifth grade. From fifth grade until I graduated, he was like a solid dad. He was like a solid dude. Um, that 10, 12 year plateau of stability in my life, I'm grateful for. And it really was like it was good. It was solid. Um, we had good Christmases, good birthdays. Uh, there there was no physical abuse from my sober father when he was sober. Um, but sometime after we graduated and me and my brother had left the home, He had started smoking. Well, he started this actually before we left the house. He was smoking weed every once in a while, and you know, uh, people say it's a gateway drug, and I actually think that that's 100% true, right? Because if you're not gonna say yes to cocaine or heroin or meth if you'll say no to weed, right? So if you'll say no to weed, then it's pretty much like it's like a tech tree, right? Like weed is almost like a prerequisite before you go further down, and that's true for a lot of people. But I actually never tried weed until I was in my mid 20s, and actually started with pain pills, hydros, benzos, stuff like that. So even though it wasn't true for me, I do believe it is true, that once you start saying yes, that it becomes easier to say yes to harder and more severe substances. Um, but I guess the marijuana at some point gave way to methamphetamine, and I remember when I would be at the house to visit my mom or spend time with my mom, I would constantly hear a lighter going from inside his like den or whatever, and like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., you go to pee, you hear that lighter going constantly. Um, and so both parents had addiction issues. Um, I'm sorry, I say a lot. It's driving me crazy, so it's got to drive other people crazy. But he also developed um, a gambling habit as well. He would tweak out on the meth and go to these game rooms that we have here. They probably have them in a lot of places, but in Texas, in bodegas or convenience stores, they'll have these progressive slots or these like little games, right? And I think it's pseudo illegal, or maybe it's totally illegal. But they're not supposed to pay out cash, but they do, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't sit there for hours and pour their money into it. But my dad, right? He would get tweaked out, and then he would do these machines until he literally had nothing left. He would get paid on Friday, and we wouldn't see him until he was broke Sunday night or Monday morning. The house I grew up in was a 4 bedroom house, and the prices I'm about to quote you are gonna sound like ridiculous, but this is what it was like in like the early 2000s. The 4 bedroom house, like 4 bedroom, 1.5 bath. I think it was on like a quarter acre front yard, backyard, garage. It was 500 a month for the mortgage, and by the time I knew what was going on and was made aware of the financials, uh, he was already like 10 or 12 months behind on mortgage. And I wish looking back that I had the awareness, and I wish I would have been able to save the house, right? Houses are like generational assets. There's no reason anyone should ever lose a house as long as they have family who can help, and the family should help. I would have the only reluctancy I had is that had I helped him get right with the mortgage, there's no way I could have had him. He would have been able to live there, right? It's his house. Even though he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do as like a responsible adult and as like a husband to my mother. Um, I still wish I would have saved that house. If it could have still had it in the family to this day. Um, but he didn't stop the meth and the gambling until literally everything was gone. and he would actually squatted in the house until it was sold and people were about to move in. He lost a job that he had for like 20 years, which is what happens, man, when you get addicted. When you get addicted, you end up damaging relationships around you, professional, personal, sometimes beyond repair. And it's just like a life lesson you have to learn and move forward. But yeah, it was really sad to see the house I grew up in go. Um, my mom was disabled. She was morbidly obese and hadn't worked probably since she was in her like 20s or 30s. So when my dad lost the house, my mom ended up living with me and my little brother. We would both put her up, several years at a time, back and forth. T- Towards the end of her life, she lived with me and my wife for the last 4, 5, 6 years. Eventually, she did pass away from several strokes. But yeah, it was crazy, right? Because the house was gone. My dad essentially one time he looked me in my eyes and he's like, "I'm from the street. I'll go right back. I have no problem with that." Basically telling me that he had given up essentially. Um, and then you always wonder if there's something that you could have done different. Um, in retrospect, right? I used to have a lot of animosity and resentment towards him, but now it's mostly gone. Like I have no desire to know what's going on or what happened with him, and some of that might be guilt because it's been so long. I don't know if he's alive or dead, but he walked away from us, so I don't have a desire to find him, and I don't need to know why. I don't want to, you know, articulate grievances or try to get like some kind of apology or whatever. It's whatever. But I no longer harbor resentment or animosity as well. They're at the end of the day, our parents are people just like us. They are gonna make mistakes, and we need to be able to forgive them, or at least understand that we're all imperfect, and there's really nothing you I'm like a firm believer that you'll hear somebody complain about somebody else and then you'll hear someone say, "Did you talk to him?" I don't believe in the ability to change someone's mind with a conversation. I don't think that's how people work. I think that people are inherently that a lot of times it's just going to fall on deaf ears, and people have to want to do whatever you want them to do on their own. They're not going to do it because of a conversation. So I think it's like a waste of time and energy, and if anything, it just alienates the person that you're trying to change with a conversation. But I remember times where he played golf and he would try to get us into involved in it, my dad, and I, looking back, wish I would have spent a little bit more quality time with him before he went off the rails. And not that it would have made a difference, but just for myself, teenagers suck, man. Like, we these people, our parents, they do everything for us, And when you become a teenager, it's like you can't stand being around them. Everything they say is annoying. You think you know everything. Just being a teenager, you get this. You're getting older, you're getting smarter, you're starting to see the world, and you think you've got it all figured out, but you just don't have the experience that that older people have. And so a lot of time, it's like Jaden Smith, just think about that kind of energy, that kind of like cringe, self-aggrandizing, um, and you'll understand like how obnoxious a teenager can be. And at the end of the day, people don't ask to be brought into the world. Our parents bring us into the world, so they do have a responsibility to, at the bare minimum, make sure that our basic needs are met. Um, so a lot of the resentment I had towards my parents was because that I felt like they they were being selfish and had let us, me and my brother, down in a lot of ways. Thankfully, my brother didn't get the kind of addiction that I got. Um, he was affected pretty bad by my mother's passing. I won't go into it because that's his life. It's his journey to share. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick stream because I saw this YouTube short and I wanted to share my own personal story, and in the hopes that it might help someone out there, or at the very least bring awareness. Um, but I'll let you go. It looks like this little dude needs attention, so I'm gonna do that.